And it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. This is My Two Cents. I apologize for those of you who may be watching this later on. I know I initially said this would get started at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. However, I just wanted to get it started earlier, make sure I had enough time to actually talk about what I wanted to. I know I got plenty more going on tonight, and I'm sure the rest of you all do too. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. I do apologize for not getting a regular video out this weekend, but there is a number of stuff going on that I do want to talk about. In particular, I know the news cycle as of late has been almost exclusively about the upcoming 2020 presidential election. And for that reason, a lot of the regular Saturday night streams that I've been hosting had kind of gone away. Not that I'm not interested in streaming, but honestly, I got sick of there was really nothing going on that we hadn't already talked about ad nauseum. But seeing as the election day is coming up this Tuesday, I figure it is worth putting in my final 2 cents regarding the U.S. election.
Nice.
Jonathan O., the man, the myth, the legend. If you're referring to me, thank you. If you're referring to someone else, I guess I have too big of an ego. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look at this tweet that was put out by Juanita Broaddrick. Now, before I critique this, I just want to say I do like Juanita Broaddrick very much. As you know, she's one of the women who has come forward saying she was abused by former President Clinton. I applaud her for coming forward about that and exposing the hypocrisy of the Clinton family. Her story is 100 times more credible than anything Christine Blasey Ford ever said. And so I'm just making a point here. I do like Juanita Broaddrick, but she has since become a very vocal Trump supporter. And she put out this tweet, which I saw today, which says, "Remember this when you vote. There's a river, which is being equated to socialism, a dam, which is being equated to Trump, and then you being the village below." And of course, the insinuation being, as we've been told many, many times before, and as we actually talked about on the last stream, everyone is convinced that this is the most important election in history. Just like they were convinced it was the most important election in history in 2016 and in 2012 and in 2008. And well, let's face it, every 4 years, the election that comes up is always the most important election in history up to that point. And now I'm going to get off on a tangent here, but to be fair to them, Night Shift, it is true. It's a statement that is either always true or always false. Because on one hand, you could say, this is the most important election in American history up to this point, knowing that 4 years later, that's going to be the most important. And every 4 years later, it's going to turn out to be the most important. Or you're wrong in that it's not the most important because it's not going to be the most important. But either way you look at it, I suppose you could say it's either always true or always false.
Exactly.
But anyways, a big talking point of the Make America Great Again crowd is that Donald Trump is the only thing standing between America and socialism. And of course, Joe Biden. Oh, and Pipsqueak has joined us. Hello, hey, Pipsqueak. Hello from down under. Thanks for joining the stream. So getting back to what I was saying, Joe Biden is, of course, the most progressive candidate we've ever seen running. The Bernie Sanders crowd has managed to get many of their policies worked into his campaign. And if you don't support Bernie and you don't support socialism, then Trump is the only thing standing in your way. Well, it's certainly true that if you look at the various campaign promises of Donald Trump versus those of Joe Biden, Donald Trump's campaign is less socialist than Biden's. That's true. But saying it's less socialist is about all you can say. Yeah. Need I remind you, Donald Trump has been a huge supporter of tariffs, which are definitely not a free market policy, increased costs on the American people. And for every job that is saved by a tariff, at least 16 others are lost. This has been pretty well documented, and I know I've talked about it in previous ones of my videos. Donald Trump has been a big vocal supporter of let's call it what it is, a universal basic income. He ever since the COVID-19 crisis, which sparked the economic crisis that was already coming, Donald Trump was a huge supporter of stimulus payments and has been a supporter of additional stimulus payments. Well, he and his followers might claim it's a temporary measure that only to be used in a great time of economic hardship. Let's face it, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program.
Exactly.
And honestly, at this point, I do see although Congress has been arguing about it, I do see future stimulus payments coming, whether Trump wins or Biden wins, and I see it being the engine to a universal basic income. Because once you start it, you can never take it. You can never take it away. They can say it's temporary all they want. Once people learn to depend on it, they're never going to get rid of it. That's how just about every other major government program started as a temporary measure. Mm-hmm. And of course, Donald Trump has promised that he will not be getting rid of Social Security and Medicare, two of the most socialist programs the United States has instituted up to this point. So I really got to ask, how anti-socialist is Donald Trump? You can say he's less socialist than Biden, but that's pretty much what's happened every election up to this point. Romney was less socialist than Obama. George Bush was less socialist than John Kerry. Ronald Reagan was less socialist than Walter Mondale. But every year, it doesn't matter whether the Republican or the Democrat wins. Two things always happen. Federal spending increases, the government grows in the size and scope of its authority, and moves closer and closer towards a totalitarian regime. The only truly anti-socialist politician I can really think of is the Ron Paul type person, and you can see how far his presidential campaign went. So don't get me wrong, I really do hope Trump wins, if for no other reason than to watch all the liberal media pundits cry and scream and post their videos on YouTube about how they're moving to Canada, even though they aren't really. But this kind of meme just shows me how out of touch the average voter is.
Don't get me wrong. I have no doubt that Trump is more than likely going to win this thing. I really don't care who does, honestly, because I want to see the salt mine on either side. I mean, if like Biden wins this, I want to see like the right wing salt mine and basically everyone being like, oh my God, we're in socialism now. Or if Trump wins, I want to see the left wing salt mine and be like, oh my God, Trump won. We're all going to die. I want to see that. I want to see that from either side. Just want to see how creative it all gets, because I just love laughing at either side. I love laughing at either one. And honestly, it's like this meme. It's very laughable. It's very comical, just to see, how much faith the right wingers have in Trump, and thinking, oh my God, if Trump doesn't get in, we're going to be socialist, and we're going to be, we're going to be this and this and this, and it's going to be terrible. It's like, really? We're not that now. We're not all those things like right now. And it's like, it is. It's just like, it's kind of like a double think situation. But yeah, I mean, I just want to see it from either side. I want to see it from either the right or the left, just the amount of salt that comes from either side, if their candidate wins or loses. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of my stance on it.
Okay. Well, Pipsqueak, since you are our resident Australian, I got to ask you quick, what is Australian media saying about the U.S. election?
Well, I couldn't really tell you, since I don't really watch much TV at all.
No, well, I certainly can't blame you there then. The reason I ask is because the Biden camp has been bragging about how Europeans on average want Biden to win, which is probably true. Not that anyone in America should care, but I would be curious if that would be true in Australia as well or not.
I don't know. Generally, people don't talk as much about America. Like, people don't talk as much as about American politics in Australia as some media would like to point out, mainly because, one, it's America and not Australia, and two, Australians really do get burnt out by just how long the presidential campaigns are in America.
Yeah, well, I certainly can't blame them on that end then. So, yay for the people of Australia.
How do you people keep it up for an entire year?
I know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's all the mainstream media we'll talk about, which is why, actually, which brings me to a point here. Jonathan O asks, "What are my thoughts on Jorgensen?" Now, I'm gonna answer this question carefully because honestly, I really don't care enough about the presidential campaign to have done any meaningful investigation of Jorgensen. So I'll give you my thoughts. Although I should say I kind of put it from a place of ignorance. I have not taken the time to thoroughly review Jorgensen's campaign platform. What I can say is that when she first came on the scene, Jorgensen had some good things to say about Black Lives Matter, which kind of turned me off to her initially. And although I can't say I've done, like I said, I really just didn't interest me. She's not going to win. So I didn't really care to take a long time to investigate her campaign. But from what I've heard, and I see Nate is saying here, she is more of a left libertarian. The closest thing in my mind to a real libertarian candidate we ever had was Ron Paul. Of course, he's a Republican, but still studied under, why is the name escaping me? Rothbard. I know Ron Paul was a student of Rothbard's, and the closest thing we ever had to a real libertarian candidate.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I also wanted to address what Derek Johnson said, but won't UBI devalue money? Yes, it will through inflation, and it could through hyperinflation, because they're not just going to be taking that money through taxes. They're going to be printing that money out. They're going to be printing that money, and it's money printer go burr. That's going to increase inflation through the roof, and it's going to lead to hyperinflation. So yes, it will devalue money. It will devalue our economy, and it'll just lead to a complete shitstorm. So absolutely, it will.
Mm-hmm. And that's really what's been going on ever since the whole COVID thing popped off. The government has printed trillions and trillions of dollars in an effort to keep the economy afloat, more accurately, the stock market. And as Donald Trump has been so eloquently bragging about at all his campaign rallies this weekend, the stock market is doing great. It's just doing great. And like I said, I hate to repeat myself because we talked about this ad nauseum on the Saturday COVID update streams. But the only reason... The fact that the stock market is doing so well in a time of business shutdowns and economic turmoil tells me all that means is that all the money that's getting printed is getting dumped into the stock market to artificially keep the value of stocks higher. Once the crisis is quote unquote over, whenever they finally declare that to be, and people try to cash in, that's when they're going to discover that it was all an illusion by money printer go burr. And there's nothing you can do to stop the hyperinflation at this point. However, the government succeeds at holding off the hyperinflation, they're only ensuring that's going to be even worse when it finally collapses. And Nate, the volunteerist, asks, can he join the stream? Yeah, Nate, if you're, I forgot you voluntarily left my patrons chat, but here, I will send you the link.
Well, the thing that people got to remember about the stock market is it's a lot like net worth. A stock's price isn't really based that much on how well the company is doing, but rather a combination of the company's current assets and debts, and its estimated future income. So if people are hopeful that the crisis will abate and people will make lots of money again, stock prices will be high regardless of the actual current state of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there voice cracking coming from my end?
I'm not sure. Nate said something about it. I didn't hear it, but
all right.
Anyways, on that note, if you want to vote, by all means, go ahead. If you don't want to vote, I certainly don't blame you. But that's the thoughts I have. I hope Trump wins. I really do. All things considered, do I think the country's probably a better place with him in the White House than Biden? Yes, not by much, but at least a little. But in the end, I don't really see it as accomplishing anything because either way, the country is shifting towards socialism. It's one of my favorite episodes of South Park of all time is the one where they're picking a new school mascot. It's you got a choice between a giant douche and a turd sandwich. Stan just decides he doesn't want to vote, and of course gets everybody craps all over him because voting is so important. Mm-hmm. And in the end, he votes for a turd sandwich, discovers that giant douche won by a lot anyways, and he's like, so my vote didn't matter. And his parents stop him. They're like, no, Stan, your vote mattered, even though it didn't matter.
Yeah. Hey, Nate.
Yo, what's up?
Not much. Just disgusting. It's an ironic world we live in when I still like South Park accurately can accurately discuss what voting is all about.
Strange how it came, how the show was created by a leftist, and yet here it is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's weird being on. It's weird being on StreamYard because I haven't used it for months.
Okay. Do you still use OBS then, or I guess we've been using Zoom when I've been on your stream.
Zoom, so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I only use Zoom. It's the only compatible on my end.
Okay. I do like StreamYard. I mean, honestly, I liked the back when they had the old Google Hangouts. but StreamYard is basically an equivalent. Scorch,
Hey,
been a long
Scorch.
time.
Hey, I've been busy. Just got off work too. I'm exhausted.
Oh, no problem. Glad to have you join us.
Yeah.
Well, I will
So
go
what's
ahead and
going
get
on?
off my. I will go ahead and get off my soapbox regarding election 2020. If there's anything y'all want to discuss, or if anybody watching right now has anything they'd like us to talk about, by all means, put it in the chat.
Can I just mention that?
Well, no,
I
I
was
just,
just
wanted to say really quickly, I am almost tempted to vote for Vermin Supreme, if not only just to troll like all the mainstream voters out there, just to vote for him as an alternative. I'm almost tempted to just to troll, but I probably won't be voting for this.
And this is my first year not voting. So,
Good for you, Scorch. Good for you.
not selecting a slave master.
Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Can I just mention that this is kind of a reunion
Yes,
of
it
all
is.
of us?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We have not all been on a stream in quite some time. Glad to have you all here.
Hey, Pipsqueak, how's that new law going about banning all hentai?
Lolicon.
Oh, that, yeah. That I.
Australia got nothing else to do.
The what now?
I said Australia got nothing else to do.
Derek Johnson
Well,
says,
yeah.
talk about
Well-
how breadlines are good.
Probably those in Victoria have nothing else to do because they've only just come out of the strict lockdowns they've had.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
You want to have a look at cringy political grandstanding? Forget the U.S. election. Have a look at what Premier Dan Andrews is doing in Victoria. Fucking patting
What's
himself
going
on the back.
Oh, educate us, dude. Educate us. What's going on there?
He's patting himself on the back. And people. I don't know what it is with Victorians, but it appears like 90% of them just have Stockholm syndrome and are posting "Thank you, Dan" on Twitter. It's like,
Oh,
seriously, really?
Now, refresh my memory. Victoria is also the province where the mother got arrested for posting on Facebook, right?
Yes, and a whole bunch of people are arrested for various reasons as well.
Also, I want to thank Nate. I want to thank Nate very quickly for posting those Twitter cutie posts on there for posting that the what was it, the CEO of Netflix was coming back at people saying, I'm not canceling this show and you can all F off, and that basically Netflix's subscriber base has gone down 800% or something like that.
It was
Oh, yeah.
they lost over $800 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I just want to thank you for that because
And
I'm
also-
doing it in my video, and I'm still making that video, by the way. I just, I kind of wanted to. It has kind of become a retrospective. I just wanted to see where this would all go. I just wanted to see what the long-term outcome would be. But I think that this has kind of run its course, so I am going to be finishing that video pretty soon.
And thus the market corrects
Here's another-
itself.
Yep, exactly.
And here's another thing you should be adding. They just raised the prices of
Oh, yeah,
subscription.
That just happened
Oh
too.
wow!
Wow.
Yeah, they're desperate. That just shows that they're desperate for money. So if you guys
There you
cannot
go.
afford that much, you better get off of there immediately.
If you thought Disney Plus would kill them off, no, they killed themselves at this point.
I
What
don't
gets
care
me-
for Disney Plus.
I
Is
don't
the
either.
CEO of Netflix so utterly principled in support of cuties that he's willing to let his company go under just to keep it streaming?
Right? I mean, what is
I
the
don't know
deal?
what they're thinking.
I mean, there are a lot of businesses that try to take a stand on moral issues, but that immediately reverse when they realize they lose all their money. Like, I think, for example, who here
was
watched Duck Dynasty? Or
I've heard of it.
knows
I've never
of
watched
Duck
it.
Dynasty. Okay, so
Not like all the episodes, but a few episodes.
Okay, so for those who may not be familiar, Duck Dynasty was a show on A&E about a family of duck hunters in Louisiana. They're, very traditional
Robertsons.
Christian, good old boys type family. And there was I think it was 2013, Phil Robertson, who's the family patriarch, was in an interview where he was asked if he thought homosexuality was a sin. Well, being a Bible believing Christian, he said, yes, I do believe it's a sin. Obviously, he didn't say I hate homosexuals or I want them all to be locked up or anything like that. He just said, yes, I believe because that's my religious view that it's a sin. Well, he got suspended and they said they're not going to allow him on the show. Thousands of people within a week started pulling their cable subscriptions to A&E, and A&E almost immediately reversed the decision, brought him back, which shows they suspended him from the show because they thought they were taking a stand on a moral issue. But then when all their viewers, who were themselves mostly conservative Christians who love the show, pulled out, suddenly they lost their moral convictions. I thought that was what was going to happen to Netflix, but.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I would say this: not Netflix, but A&E. They probably should have done that because that was going to get like the huge reaction that it was going to get. If A&E wanted to do something like that, really they should have just let it up to the viewers and the cable subscribers, and they probably would have gotten like a big pullout anyway, which would have prompted them to cancel the show anyway. Because here's the thing: if you stimulate that, if you cause like this big fuss, like we're pulling you, we're gonna force you off. Well, that's gonna cause a lot of support. But if you leave it there, but you try to subtly work against it, then it will more than likely cause people to say, you know what, yeah, that was kind of fucked up what he just said. You know what, we're gonna pull out until you cancel the show. Because it is. It's basically letting voting with your dollars. Letting the people kind of decide that, and usually they'll make the right decision. So, if people wanted Duck Dynasty off, that's probably how they should have gone about it instead of just pulling the show forcefully. But in all honesty, yeah, well, Netflix has had that kind of reaction, haven't they? Like where people have been pulling out massively.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Here's the thing. Again, I'm not for shutting down Netflix. I'm not for shutting it down. I'm for letting the people decide. And you know what? As I'm going to say in my video, the people have not let me down because Netflix has seen massive drawbacks. And that's really how you've got to do it. That's really how that's how you've got to put it out there. And that's how you got to take them down, is just let the people decide. And more than likely, the people will not let you down on that.
But to be fair, I kind of don't, I've never heard of A&E before, but I just don't respect them right now because it's like, oh, we're going to take this principled stance against you. Etc. Oh, we're losing money. Immediately reverse decisions. Like, no. You want to take a principled stance. You go all in. Otherwise, I lose all the respect for you.
Mm-hmm. And we lost Scorch. Dang it.
Yep. Yeah, so
that sucks. Oh, well.
Sorry to have lost Scorch. Can we talk about what's going on in France?
What's going on there?
With all the churches being attacked?
Yeah, I know the priest attack. There was the knife attack in Nice. Assuming, are you referring to the attacks or something else?
I don't know what's going on. I'm completely out of the loop.
I'll give him an opportunity.
I never heard about this.
Okay.
Well, the media certainly is not reporting on it.
Yeah, not in the U.S. media anyway. So let's find ourselves a French source here. French news. All right, The Guardian. Here, I'll go ahead and screen share. Hang on.
Although, it doesn't surprise me because I think it was in Colombia a couple of years ago. There was like a purge that was going on where the government failed to act and like the cartels were going nuts or the gangs in the streets were going nuts. And we never heard about it. And there were people even on TikTok that were basically filming it in Colombia. And they were like, purge in Colombia. Why is nobody talking about this? So it honestly would not surprise me. If the news media did not pick this up, if we didn't see anything about this in the U.S., because
here's The Guardian. Nice terror attack. French police arrest 3 more men. Total of 6 people taken in for questioning over knife attack at Basilica that killed 3. French police investigating a terrorist attack in Nice have arrested 3 more men, bringing the number of people taken in for questioning to 6. A 29-year-old Tunisian man was arrested on Saturday in Grasse. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And 2 other men aged 63 and 25 were later taken in for questioning from the same address. They joined 2 men aged 33 and 35, picked up on Saturday, and a 47-year-old who has since been held on Thursday. Well, the first thing that strikes me, so France has pretty strict gun control, and yet they had a knife attack. Where are the calls to ban all knives?
In Britain.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good one there.
So
Hey,
gun
sorry about
gun control didn't work. What makes you think knife control will work?
It won't,
Right?
honestly.
I mean, they actually did impose knife control in the UK, and knife attacks went up as a result.
Yep.
Hello.
Oh, jeez.
Not just that, they also ban like box cutters and stuff.
Ban assault knives. Oh, my
And
God.
freaking tools and utensils.
Oh yeah, also ban brass knuckles as well. Yeah,
What,
ban all that
people are
stuff.
dying because they're getting punched in the
Oh,
face?
boy.
Ban fists. Go in immediately to your doctor so they can cut your hands off. Oh, God.
I mean, is it going to get to the point where they're going to have to ban martial arts and anyone with a black belt is going to automatically have to go to jail?
Don't give them any ideas. Don't give them
Yeah,
any
no, I should have
ideas.
just said that right there.
Oh,
But yeah,
man.
stuff like that just goes to show how ridiculous gun control is.
Oh,
Jesus
absolutely.
Christ.
The
If you
people
wanted-
who are pro, the people
ahead.
who are pro gun control, they know it doesn't work. They just want a monopoly on guns, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. But
If
Yep.
you want to know how ridiculous California really is, when Barbara Boxer was senator, I remember her in a press conference saying sensible gun laws work. We proved it in California. I'm not kidding. She really said that.
Wow.
And I'm like, we have shootings almost every single day all over the
Yeah.
place. What are you talking about?
Kojal Tad said the British did that when they took over India, I believe.
Gun because of that.
Yeah, they did.
Banned their martial arts because they were afraid of an uprising.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
There wasn't
true.
much the British didn't ban, though, when they took over India, though. I've got to say that. Honestly, even here's the thing. But much to the bane of many leftists and socialists out there, Gandhi himself actually spoke out on how evil the British gun control laws were and how much he actually was against gun control.
Yeah.
Gandhi himself said that. I mean, ouch to all the leftists out there. I've just got to say that much.
World's most famous pacifist.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Most
There's
pacifist that agrees to self-defense.
there's something I wanted to bring up. I've heard that Gavin Newsom is proposing to ban gas-powered cars.
Of course.
I don't know how that would go down.
I don't know how that would work, but honestly, the electric power cars, in my view, are like the worst right now. Not only are they expensive, they're not as safe as they claim.
And what's worse, the electricity that charges their batteries comes mostly from coal factories.
Yep.
So your
Okay, yeah,
electric
there we
car is
go.
in
Yeah.
fact coal powered.
That's
Well, and here's the thing
we should
about it.
switch over to nuclear. That will help out a great amount.
Well, probably. Here's the thing about it, though. A lot of what the batteries or the power supplies that go into electric cars, a lot of that comes from lithium. A lot of that comes from like lithium and lithium batteries. Do they know
Yep.
how much environmental damage the pit mining for lithium causes? Do they actually have any inkling at I mean, you're trying to make an environmentally conscious decision by going electric with your cars. But here's the thing. A lot of that comes from lithium batteries. And lithium mining it's pit mining, which causes enormous damage to the
Yep.
environment that you say you
Oh, yeah.
support. Like, what the hell?
Huh, what do you know? What do you know?
In-
Also, here's
in my
another thing I need to
response-
point out.
Go
Go ahead.
Nate.
Oh,
Okay,
I
I
was
was going to
just
say,
gonna.
in my response to AOC's Vision of the Future video, I pointed out that the bullet train that they're supposedly building in California, because it's so green, given the amount of carbon emission, all the construction vehicles and everything to transport the materials to build it, when you consider the amount of carbon emissions it will take to build the train, it was something like the train would have to operate at 77 years at maximum efficiency just to offset the carbon emissions it would take to build the train.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I wanted to point out about the Teslas. What I wanted to point out about the Teslas was there's been videos where they're showing that these cars are also, you can have them self-drive, and they actually do not stop even though they're coming up to a car right in front of them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still working on the programs like that.
Well, they better.
I don't know.
Tesla's self-driving is better than Google's self-driving. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd almost be for I'd almost be for the nuclear cars. The only thing about it is that what that kind of reminds me of is like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and like when you came up on like an old car. Yeah, if you shot the car in the engine and it started flaming, you would have to literally run because it would cause a miniature nuclear explosion every time. So I don't know.
That's more of a game mechanic than what would actually happen, though.
Well, I just like what would happen if you got into a car wreck? I mean, what's going to happen there?
Also, I doubt
they did actually build
because you got to remember the rods used in nuclear fission plants aren't nearly as enriched as a material you'd find
weapon grade.
That is true.
Yeah.
The real reason for the Green New Deal is because they want to ban all private modes of transportation and replace them with public transport so they can track where everyone goes at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no wonder why they're putting computers in cars.
Oh yeah.
No wonder why.
Well, the whole thing about computers in cars is like you have to do so many things to a gasoline engine to try and get it to pass all of these environmental regulations.
It's freaking difficult now.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Not only that, you make the cars more vulnerable to hackers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So why would you want to give hackers more advantage? I mean, for crying out loud. So if anything, people, don't get a new car. Do not get a new car. You will regret it. Not only that, the cars are more expensive more than ever.
Litigist Society brings up a topic that, as a James Bond fan, I can't help but pay tribute to. Yes, I must point out that Sean Connery has regrettably passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He was the original James Bond, and the original James Bond movies were amazing. So,
amen.
Tribute to Sean Connery.
Mm-hmm.
He was also Indiana Jones's dad.
That is also true.
Yeah.
Junior? Yes, sir. Don't call me Junior.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Last Crusade was an awesome movie. Yes. Sadly, Draco has gone to the Dragon's Heaven. He was also he also played the voice of a dragon. I'll say Dragonheart was a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Sean Connery actually he had a number of very famous roles. I will always know him as James Bond.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And since this newest James Bond film is going to be total crap, it's probably time to pull out some of the classics and rewatch them.
Yeah, amen to that. Good Lord. Okay, so here's the thing, though. Going back to the whole computers and cars thing, I've got a really interesting and kind of creepy story about that because they've been doing that ever since like the early 2000s, and I remember. I did back in like I think it was back in 2003 or something like that. I didn't really have my own car, so I was going to college back then, and I was in my mom's car, and my mom's car was it was like a VW from 2002, and something really creepy happened on 9/11 or September 11th, and it had just hit like 666 miles. And the horn literally started going off for no reason. I was not touching it. I was not doing anything. It wasn't until I shut off the car that it would stop. But even when I turned on the car, it just started going. And it was like the horn would go off at random. It would not stop going. And it kept going for like 6 hours like that. Whenever I'd start up the car at a random time, the horn would literally go off like the car was possessed. And the thing about it is that my mom was even in the car with me a few times when it happened. And she actually drove the car too when it happened. And finally it got so bad that she took me with her when this happened, but we went down to the dealership and they were like, here's the thing, we don't know how this happened. It could have been the computer that's in the car. You can do anything with those computers. You can even hack them. So I mean, here's the thing. After that, anything really is possible with those, and especially now. So I mean, that was kind of a creepy case of either a hacking. I highly doubt it was possession of the car, but I mean, somebody could have programmed something into the car. Somebody could have hacked into the car. And that probably was the case. So, I mean, anything is possible with that. And that's just a creepy story that I wanted to share about that. So, yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Reminds me when my horn went off like crazy. But that's because actually how the horn on the car worked is that it was supposed to be like a rubber gasket between two metal plates, and the rubber gasket melted away.
That reminds me of a scene from Smokey and the Bandit, where Buford T. Justice and his son, were caught in traffic, and then he's so impatient he honks the horn, and the horn just keeps going on and on.
Yes.
And then he essentially just cuts in line, and then goes up to the I believe like the sheriff that was directing traffic, and then the sheriff just kicks the car, and the horn finally turns off.
Nice.
Good old percussive maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Best kind.
Yeah, I honestly wish Sean Connery could have played Bond in GoldenEye. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, JC Armitage is the one who pointed that out. GoldenEye 64 was a very classic N64 game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Love that
I will
game.
say Sean Connery will always be like the James Bond, although Pierce Brosnan was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I mean, who was the worst James Bond, by the way?
I mean, I'm inclined to say Daniel Craig only because those last few movies have not so much that he's the worst actor. I mean, that's not really his fault that they wrote the movies as complete crap and weren't really true to James Bond. I'd probably say Timothy Dalton was the worst as far as classic Bond.
Mm-hmm. How about a favorite James Bond film? Anybody?
You Only Live Twice.
I can't decide between Goldfinger or You Only Live Twice.
Yes. For those who may not have seen it, in You Only Live Twice, James Bond goes to Japan. They supposedly give him plastic surgery to make him look Japanese. Then he teams up with a team of ninjas to go stop the bad guy. I mean, doesn't get much better than that.
That was pretty good. I don't
Was
know.
it?
Well, no, okay. What were you going to say, Nate?
I was going to say, it's been a while since I've seen it, but wasn't You Only Live Twice where the enemy would put his victims in like a pond and then the piranhas would just eat them all up?
I think
it's been a while. I don't, because it was a Russian guy they're launching a rocket into space and it's hijacked.
And he's got a cat. And he's got a cat.
Yeah, and he's got a cat. I don't remember anything about.
Yeah,
piranhas.
that was it. Okay, yeah, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Goldfinger, that was where the guy takes off his head and it cuts off the head of the statue.
Mm-hmm. The dude with the cat with Jaws. The guy with the metal teeth. Yeah, do you remember that?
One of my family members actually knew the guy who played Jaws.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right. After You Only Live Twice, Goldfinger obviously was great. I did for Pierce Brosnan films. The World Is Not Enough. That one was pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know. My favorite Bond was From Russia with Love. Honestly, that one was a great one. And yes, do not hate on me. After that, Skyfall. Skyfall was. I know that Daniel Craig was not the best Bond, but honest to God, Skyfall was a good Bond movie. It was actually a really good Bond movie, in my opinion. But just
I wouldn't say that the first Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall. I wouldn't say they were bad films. I just wouldn't say they were actually Bond films. Like the the way they portrayed him, it was a different character in a different movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's just that Skyfall, honestly, everything before that and everything after that, though, like Casino Royale, again, not bad movies, but I would not. I'm with you. I would not consider them Bond movies. Skyfall was the only one that I would consider like an actual Bond film. It was an actual, it actually seemed like, it was James Bond. Maybe not as he was classically played, but I mean, there were some Bond moments in that. But that's the only one that I would consider out of the Daniel Craig ones to be any kind of a really good Bond film.
I'm not going to opine much on this. I haven't seen much of Bond films.
Yeah, the only thing that's coming to my mind is all the Austin Powers movies.
Of course, Austin Powers being the greatest parody of Bond films.
Mm-hmm.
They say they're working on a fourth Austin Powers.
Oh God, please!
Jeez.
They just haven't. I mean, Mike Myers is still trying to get it going. It's just been quite a drag, unfortunately.
Oh, please let them get that out. Oh my gosh, the Austin Powers movies were so incredible.
I love them. Still, one of my favorite scenes is when you somehow got that little go-kart thing stuck in the hallway.
Mm-hmm. We will hold it for ransom for $1 million. Well, $1 million is nothing. Okay, we will hold it for ransom for $100 billion. Da 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 da. Oh my God.
Freaking sharks with a freaking laser on their heads.
Yes, sharks with lasers. Oh my God, thank you.
Oh.
Jonathan O says, do y'all support LGBT, landlord, gun, billionaire, the police rights?
I don't understand the context.
Yeah, what does he mean?
I mean,
because that was quite a bit of word salad.
I've heard the Liberty Guns Beer Trap Strike.
Oh, I
haven't
see
heard this one
it's
before.
saying LGBT stands for landlord guns.
Police.
Oh,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Landlord, gun.
It's embarrassing how long
billionaire,
it took you all to get that.
One thing I guess I don't support is I don't care for billionaires, but they can be billionaires if they want to. And I don't care for police, but except for if they enforce any laws that follows the NAP.
No, I don't have a problem with police per se. Privatized police would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't support them when they violate people's rights.
As for guns, you can own whatever gun you want. I don't care.
Yep.
I'd say, you know what's that does bring up the topic of police brings up something worth talking about. I feel like most of the national outrage about police are are really not the things you should be outraged about police about. Like when the police violate people's rights and lock people up for victimless crimes, yeah, that's a fundamental issue with the nature of publicly funded police forces. But like this most recent, all these riots that took place in Philadelphia, say what you will about the issues that exist with police, and believe me, there are a lot of them. But in that particular case, they're complaining a black man was unjustly shot by police. Watch the footage. The guy had a knife and was charging at the officers, even though they told him to drop the knife. Now, again, I'm not saying that there are no problems with police. There absolutely are. But if there was ever a justified police shooting, that was definitely one of them.
Oh yeah.
I've got to say I do support LGBT, liberty, guns, booze, and the bitches. Thank you very much.
JC Armitage says liberty, guns, beer, and tits.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to say anything.
All right, before the stream gets taken down, we should probably quell that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just.
Litigious Society says they want to focus on race so people will still be apologists for the police when it comes to things like drug prohibition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, like, yeah, there is a legitimate criticism. Police resources are being wasted on victimless crime, like the war on drugs. Meanwhile, the people who absolutely hate police are saying, black people are being unjustly killed by police, which very well may be true in some of these cases, but at least in this most recent case, it absolutely isn't.
The problem I have with
whether the people who shot that guy were police officers or not.
I'm sorry.
What?
Go ahead. I was just going to say whether the people who shot that gentleman were police officers or not, they were justified in shooting. If someone has a knife and is charging at you, you take out your gun and say, stop, drop the knife, and they continue to charge at you. You are absolutely justified, and that is a self-defense shooting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What was Nate going to say?
I was going to say there was like some cutout point on my end or something. I don't know what happened. But anyways, the problem I have with the writers is that they're actually being pawns for the state. They're just repeating the narrative that police are racist and we have institutionalized racism, yet they ignore the fact that the state is causing it.
Yep.
Right.
And also here's another thing. They also say we need to abolish police, or we need to not privatize. Excuse me, duh. They don't want to privatize police. They want to defund the police, but that turned out to be a total fraud. They want a woke police. I mean, imagine what that would be like.
We don't have to imagine. There was what did they call it? Chop.
Yeah.
Chad. Yeah.
That little social experiment that lasted all of 3 weeks. Armed enforcers demanding protection money popped up within 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought they lasted for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. Zachary Colley brings an excellent point. How can we stop police brutality without taking other people's flat screens? Of course, a reference to all the looters and trashing stores that had nothing to do with the police and stealing all their stuff is a rational response to police brutality.
Yeah,
July puts that best. It's like being pissed off at your boss, so you go burn down your neighbor's house in protest.
And I wanted to.
I'd still like to say something. The whole Chaz thing.
Yeah.
At the very start, I had some small modicum of respect for him because it's like, oh, we're a secession movement because and on some level that was entirely legitimate because if you truly don't believe the government is serving your interests, I think you have every right to secede. But it very quickly became an exercise in political activism, and especially where the name change to something else. It's like you're not a real secession movement. You're just commies who are doing this to protest and trying to get into power. All respect has gone out the window. You're not a legitimate secession movement anymore.
Right.
It became LARPers instead.
And I wanted
on
to
some
say,
level it always was, but if they'd actually stuck with it, I may have respected them.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say on the whole Chaz thing, it was a social experiment that lasted for about 5 days, but it hung on for a few weeks, even after they had completely bankrupted themselves. And yeah, basically a few murders and a warlord later, after a few weeks, they finally got cleared out.
I mean, watch the show Night Shift, and I did, proof that anarcho-communism fails. I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
I think my favorite thing that came out of that, there was a Babylon Bee article that subsequently became a number of memes called, it said Donald Trump forms Chad to counter Chaz. And the joke was, it was a picture of Donald Trump surrounded by a bunch of muscle men lifting weights. And it said, to counter Chaz, Donald Trump has formed the nation of Chad, where Chads everywhere come to get swole.
That's awesome.
The Chad Republic versus the Virgin Islands.
I kind of wish I saw that happen in reality. That would have been so funny.
All right, well, we are getting close to the end of the show here, about 11 minutes left. If anyone in the comments has been wanting us to talk about something and I may have missed it, go ahead and put it in the chat again at this time.
I wonder if people have questions for me or Night Shift or anyone else. as well.
I doubt they have
By
any
all
questions
means,
about
please
me.
do.
I'm a nobody. Don't ask me questions.
I mean, none of my shows have been live because it's been so much trouble connection wise.
Zachary said I had one for Nate earlier. Well, you can post it now.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Jonathan O says, will you make a video about the military in Ancapistan? I suppose that probably would be a worthwhile. I already made one about the police.
I do got a question. What's your opinion on privatized prison in Ancapistan?
Well, I think certainly I believe it would exist in some capacity. I think what it comes down to with privatized prisons is what is the purpose of prison? Is it to punish people, wrongdoers? Is it to keep them off the streets? Or is it to rehabilitate? I think the modern prison system, the goal is supposedly to rehabilitate, but basically prisons have become a joke where, prisoners, you get 3 meals and a bed to sleep in. It's really not at least for hardcore criminals, it's really not a punishment at all.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe they would exist, but I think they would be tailored to the specific needs of the individual community. If someone has repeatedly violated the rights of others to the point that it's not safe to have them in society, you could either imprison them for life, or but then the question is raised as to who's responsible for paying for them to be fed and clothed and all the other necessities, and that's going to be up the private investors that determine what is really needed to keep society safe from people who are violating other people's rights. I don't think I think it would vary from community to community within a stateless society.
And also you have to this is also equating have these people actually survived all of their what we would assume violent criminal actions or violent right violating actions against other people, because in an anarchist society, or even in a minarchist society, maybe we would assume that people would be armed, people would be ready to defend themselves, and so that is if these people have actually survived all their attempts, because more than likely, if they've survived their attempts unharmed and alive, then there might be justification for some deterrent against that, like a private prison or some kind of private initiative on that. But again, that's if they're able to survive their attempts against other people. And just in an anarchist society, I just don't really see that happening.
The best example I've been given by some people for justification of prison is that the prisoners will work off a debt to the victims. Yeah. And once they pay off the debt, then they'd be released.
Yeah. Restitution, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Now, I think there would potentially be cases where you're dealing with a serial killer, someone who has committed so many crimes, has killed people, committed so many crimes. There no longer exists a way they could work off a debt. I believe those people would be executed or imprisoned for life. But again, the question the question about prison for life is who then is obligated to pay for their 3 meals a day and bed to sleep on. Right. I would say no one's obligated. If there are people who truly believe the death penalty is immoral, such that they want to privately fund for him to be in prison for life, they'd be free to do that. Otherwise, I would say such a person could be justly executed.
Personally, I'm in favor of the. Personally, I'm in favor of the exile to an island / battle royale idea. If someone has consistently proven themselves so violent that they cannot be trusted to be in proximity to other people, you get the island.
Mm-hmm. Honestly,
all of the other incredibly violent people have fun.
Yeah, I've said this ironically in the past. Part of me wants to say it unironically, but ironically, I've said this about pedophiles. I say, give them over to private human hunting preserves, and let hunters hunt them. People that want to hunt humans, let them hunt these pedophiles. Let them hunt pedophiles in private human hunting preserves or something like that.
That's a novel, isn't it? The Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying that majoritively, ironically, but part of me wants to say no. When Ancapistan actually happens, let's actually do that or something.
Here's one for you, Pipsqueak. He says, "Cough, Australia, cough."
Hey, I'm from South Australia. South Australia and Western Australia are the only two places that didn't start off as a penal colony. Thank you very much. We're very proud of it.
Okay, cool.
No, South Australia was formed mainly by colonists trying to get away from religious persecution in Europe.
Yeah.
They were selling those lands, weren't they?
The what?
Weren't they selling those lands? The South Australia?
It was a combination of that and true homesteading. I'm not too familiar with that period of history. Like the early.
No, I watched some videos about the history of Australia, but they didn't really go into too much details.
I also saw something up there like, what is everyone's opinion of Nazi Germany? Mine is that it was a brutal racist autocracy that that a lot of people like to say it was economically, it was economically capitalist, but that was not true. Hitler and the government took over. Yeah, they took over the economy. They took over the markets. And it had nothing to do with capitalism. It had nothing to do with any kind of free market ideology.
Oh, hey, was it about capitalism, free market? One of the first things the Nazis did was suspend the article in the German Constitution that guarantees the right to private property.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That was one of the first things they did as soon as they got the chance.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, well, I gotta get going. My girl's here.
Right, okay, no problem. And the stream's about to be, we're almost done anyways. One thing I would say about Nazi Germany, I think what you should look at first is not Nazi Germany, but the Weimar Republic. Look at how the government attempting to fund itself through money printer go burr led to a complete and utter economic collapse, the likes of which the country had never seen, which effectively set the stage for Hitler to seize power. So...
A lot of people like to try and blame the fall of the Weimar Republic and the hyperinflation on private banks. However, the thing you got to remember is the private banks were given carte blanche to print government fiat money. So, no, it's still because of government.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
the irony being... The Weimar, I mean, you can't really investigate these kinds of counterfactuals. If this, then that. I mean, since it didn't happen, we'll never know for sure. But I'd say there's a good argument that could have been made that if the Weimar Republic had simply closed down the printing press, suspended government services, sent all their employees home without pay, and just waited, that the economy would have naturally corrected itself and they could have picked up again later. But instead, they chose to print the currency into oblivion.
Basically what they effectively did was they turned every private bank into another central bank, and then you had because the problem is like it basically laid bare the incentives of the people running a central bank, as in their only incentive is to print more money and use it to buy things.
Yeah.
And then you have a tragedy of the commons problem, which was basically created because of this, and that's why you had hyperinflation. If they had just done away with the central bank entirely and gone back to a system of private currency, it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. Also, I wanted to respond to Zachary Cully's question. No, what Nazi Germany was trying to do, it wasn't like positive Christianity. They were trying to get rid of all Christianity, and Hitler was trying to, I might be wrong about this. My recollection's might not be great about this, but he was trying to re-emerge Nordic myths and the Nordic religion, but he was trying to give it like a Nazi makeover, more or less. And he was trying to make it look like...
The Nazis' state religion was a really freaking strange mix of, we're trying to appeal to the Christians, even though that's really not working, because the German Catholics were one of the first groups to join the German resistance against the Nazis. And the Nazis also frequently arrested Catholic priests and sent them to gulags.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that didn't work. And it was also it was a really strange and messed up mix of a whole bunch of Nordic pagan mythology, a whole bunch of state worship, and a whole bunch of cult of personality around Hitler himself.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking about. So yeah.
And I would say initially, Hitler tried in an effort to win over the Christian population. I would say the Nazis worked very hard to sever Christianity from its Judaism roots. In order to, obviously, Christianity is built on a foundation of Judaism, and you can't really get Jew hatred to flourish unless you can sever that. Hence, there was a very heavy effort to create change Christianity and make it more anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and a lot of people like to criticize the Catholic Church over signing like that agreement with the Nazi Party. However, what most of these criticisms fail to realize is the Nazis were already violating the terms of that agreement before pen was put to paper.
Right.
It was a political maneuver to try and get the Catholic Church on side. And yeah, it's like with a lot of other agreements, the Nazis were lying through their teeth.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, what was Zach's question to me before?
It was like
we have hit the 1 hour, so I'll give him one more opportunity to post that.
It was about cars getting hacked or something.
Oh,
wait, here we go.
What do I think will happen after hacker sees the cars? I'm not exactly sure. All I can say is that if Gavin Newsom is successful in banning gas-powered cars and forces us to switch over, and then things don't work out, they're probably going to go, well, we didn't do it right, most likely. Kind of like with these lockdowns, cases of COVID continue to rise up, supposedly or allegedly, and they're all like saying, well, we didn't lock down hard enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what's funny is the governor of Michigan, twice the Supreme Court ruled against these draconian measures that she took, and she still insists that what she's doing is constitutional and legal.
Oh, of course.
But I don't take her seriously because she's a narc. I don't have look. I don't have to be. I'm not a doctor or psychologist or whatever. But every time I watch her, I'm watching her face, and I can tell that there's something wrong with her. There's just something wrong. So,
and on that note, we have hit the top of the hour. So, thanks everybody for hanging out. Good to have you guys back. We haven't had a stream with all of us in quite some time.
Wow. Yeah, this was great.
All right, so thanks everybody for watching. We'll see what craziness breaks out. I do predict, regardless of who wins the election Tuesday, there's going to be some crazy stuff going on in America. So we'll be here to talk about it all. So check back in for the next stream. And as always, that is my 2 cents. You can take it for what it's worth.